Here we go. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Sorry, it's been a while since I posted anything. Today, we have taleendstudio coming to talk about his first feature-length comic, Indiegogo comic campaign, Cobalt, Thrashing About.
Yeah, man. How's it been going?
It's been a crazy week.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's only halfway through though, so it might look better at the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I got a feeling I won't look better at the end.
Oh man, don't jinx it for me. Don't.
But speaking of things that are not jinxed,
yeah,
your campaign is doing really well. 86% filled within the first month. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised at it too, man. I didn't know how this was going to go, but for that to be my first 30 days, I mean, I couldn't be more thankful with everybody that's helped out in the indie circuit, or just within my friends list, and friends and family. I mean, this has been really great. I couldn't be more happy with what we've done so far.
Yeah, I think I first caught this on Phoenix Animations.
Yep, and Phoenix and Black Rose.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that looks pretty good. One thing that I hate the most in indie comics is probably the coloring, but I have to say this looks great, and it's nice to see someone who, coloring and lettering are kind of things that are like people will spend all the money on the artist, and then they're like, whatever is good, and there's actually been some campaigns that I have planned to back, and after I saw the coloring, it was like, oh god, no. But tell us a little bit about Cobalt.
Okay, so Cobalt actually started out in an anthology that was targeted at well, target is not exactly the word I wanted to use. That was more for kids who are growing up limb different, who were born with congenital differences or went through an accident where they became had an amputation. And back in 2013, I actually became an amputee. I lost 4 fingers on my left hand in a factory accident. So I quickly became part of that community. I became an ambassador for a prosthetic company. I have a bionic hand, hence my tag, Bionic Bruh. And so while I befriended some of these guys in the limb different community, we were hanging out at Dragon Con in 2018 down in Atlanta. And we were walking Artist Alley, seeing all the indie creators, shilling out their stuff. And it was all really good. And then my buddy turned to me and was like, hey, man, have you ever thought of making a comic book? I was like, hell yes, I have. I just haven't had an outlet to do it. And so we started talking about our characters and whatever. And he was like, I'm going to get you in touch with somebody. And a couple months later, his buddy Travis Rivas over in San Diego with the indie studio called Accidental Aliens, that he actually hit me up and was like, dude, we're putting this anthology together for the kids growing up with limb difference. Do you want to be part of it? I was like, hell yes, I do. And so it very much became something that not only I was able to finally like bring to fruition and see realized, but I also got to, entertain kids who were looking for characters that they could, kind of,
little relate to a little more, and
relate to a little more. And that right there kind of melted my heart, and I was like, man, that's what it's all about. And so after that, I caught the bug, and I just kept on going with Cobalt. I kept asking, when are we going to do the next one? And COVID came along, we put it on hold. Another year's gone by now, 2 years later, and I was like, screw it, I'm going to do my own like 32-page story. And this is Cobalt Thrashing About. This is the continuation of that origin story. But you don't need it to jump in here. We'll have enough callbacks to what happened to where we can still move forward with this 4-issue miniseries.
Oh, excellent. So tell us a little about Cobalt himself.
Okay. Cobalt's actual name is Jesse Jensen. He's mid-20s, blue-collar kid. He has a little brother named Isaac who's 12 years old, and this is where that story picks up. So in the origin story, he was a runner for the Aranya cartel in Atlanta, Georgia. And he became so because his, dull, boring job just wasn't cutting it for the bills for the family. His mom was receiving medical bills and treatment for cancer, and he was just getting backed up with it. He wasn't able to pay him on time. Debt was just going through the roof, and he was just, at wit's end. So a buddy that he was working with invited him to come, do this job with him. And so he became a runner for the cartel at that point. One night it goes bad. He loses the merchandise and the money. So he has to go visit the big boss and explain what happened. She's not too happy about it. And Esmeralda Blasco, this is actually...
Oh, let's see. Hang on a second. Oh, there we go.
This lady here, Esmeralda Blasco, who runs the Aranya cartel, doesn't take too kindly to the loss, and she wants compensation, and she takes that in the form of his hand.
Ooh.
Yeah. So here's where you can see that it actually happened and took place.
Ah.
Yeah, she's a crazy bitch. But yeah, after that, he got very vengeful. He met a guy named Thomas Rogers, and he kind of, focused that anger into something more positive. And it turned out that positivity turned into taking vengeance on the cartel. And so when he did that, Esmeralda knew who it was, and she went after and kidnapped his little brother Isaac, which totally pissed him off. So he went, had his vengeance, saved his little brother, and now they're in hiding because he doesn't want anything to do with it anymore. He got his brother. He's just trying to lay low for them both to survive. But one night while he's out trying to collect rent, he runs into a new gang that's trying to take the position that the Aranya used to hold. So all the gangs right now are in a war. They're trying to take that, that top spot to, do the drops and take merchandise from this location to that location for the bigwigs in Atlanta.
Cool. So is this a present day story or near future?
Near future, alternate universe. So it's very much based in the cyberpunk neo-noir type setting. And but it's not similar to like Alita Battle Angel or what do you call Blade Runner. And so this is going to be its own thing. But it very much has those, little nuances, those aesthetics that would let you kind of see the world around it coming into being what would be a full-blown cyberpunk reality.
Oh, cool. And so out of curiosity, how'd you pick Atlanta?
I lived in Atlanta for 3 years, so I knew the way around, and I actually found it to be a pretty engaging city. And so I wanted to pick that one because, Marvel, everybody's kind of stuck in New York, and I don't know why. I understand you have the 5 boroughs, but come on, there's more out there than just New York.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I chose Atlanta, and the outskirts of it, I made it run down and look like, the back alleys of, you would see in the cyberpunk settings. Very, dirt and debris everywhere. And then, you got some of the scum that run, the shadows. And then, of course, you got the inner city that's going to look definitely more like it should if cyberpunk was done to where the city actually grew with the technology instead of having it overlap and collapse on top of it. So you're going to get to see how different areas utilize technology.
Oh, very cool. So why don't you walk us through your campaign a little bit and tell us a bit about your the different perks people can buy?
Okay. So of course, right off the bat, we have the digital fragment going to be $10, and then every physical tier is actually free shipping within the US. So you're not going to get hit with that extra $10 at checkout. I've already calculated it to where it's within the actual tier. So what you see here is the only price that you're going to be paying.
So $20 flat for the first tier of physical. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And, for a 32-page book, I also included a chibi sticker and the digital and the shipping within it because I want you to get the most bang for your buck on this campaign. I want you to be able to get this book and enjoy it as much as I have creating it. Mm-hmm. So I thought that would be a good little incentive to do so. And then, of course, at the next tier, there's $35 for 2 physicals, a digital, and the chibi sticker. Uh-huh. Stay vigilant. You get the digital, the physical, an 11x17 poster, then the chibi sticker. And then my favorite tier is That's Metal. So not only are you getting the digital and the physical copies of the comic, you're also getting the 11x17 poster, the chibi sticker, but you're also getting a comic-sized metal print of the cover art. And I actually have a sample of it right here.
All right, let's hang on a second. Damn it. All right, there we go. Wow, that looks awesome.
Yeah. So these were actually done by Phoenix Animation for me. So he's doing all the medals for my campaign.
Oh, I knew he was doing like bottle openers and stuff. I didn't know he could create something that large.
Oh yeah, he actually for the next tier named Cobalt. That's $100 tier. You're not going to get the metal size cover print. Mm-hmm. You're going to get a 12x18 metal poster.
Dang.
Yeah. So I went all out with metal. I mean, it's cyberpunk, so you got to throw a little metal in there.
Well, sure, of course.
But yeah, man. And then we have the No Gray Area. It's a black and white character commission that you can get of any character, not just a character from the comic, but maybe your comic or a comic that you have a character that you've enjoyed, outside of the indie circuit. And then you're going to get the physical, the digital, you're going to get the 11x17 poster and the 12x18 metal print along with the chibi sticker. All of that at $150.
Man, it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. And then what I thought was pretty cool and unique for this campaign was Get a Leg Up. So you're not only getting the physical and the digital copies, you're getting the comic-sized metal print of the cover, the 11x17 poster, the chibi sticker, and you're going to get a full ad page for your comic book that you're going to be creating down the line to put in my book.
That's very interesting to me because when the whole sort of comic skate thing sort of started around 2018, I had kind of wondered if people were going to start doing that. Like either you're going to sell ad space where you'll put ads for somebody else's book, or if it's like I'll put an ad for yours and mine, and you put an ad for mine and yours. And
yeah, I don't know why more people haven't been doing it.
Yeah, I don't know why it hasn't come up. I mean, the only thing I can think of is, especially some of those people who started in 2018. Well, I'm still waiting on a couple books, but some, I don't know if it would really help, if my book's coming out sooner than yours.
Well, of course, but yeah, that's something that you got to take into consideration. But this one's going to come to you in July. So
nice. So
we actually go ahead.
I was going to say I did see on the Indiegogo page that everything so far is drawn and inked.
Yes, everything is drawn and inked. All 32 pages are fully colored. I'm just working with my letterist right now. We're getting all the placement dialogue out of the way and actually filling in the dialogue with actual, conversation.
Very cool. So you are pretty much almost done, with the exception of zipping up that lettering and just going to print.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that I was at least 2/3 of the way completed with this campaign before I even launched, because I'm a smaller creator, not very well known, and I know that as such, I got to have something brought to the table before I launch anything. In my opinion, for myself.
Well, I think you're absolutely right in this case. A couple of years ago, I think people could sort of just ask for money up front with a couple sketches. But I think now, with books coming late, people want to know that they're actually going to get something for their money. And I think it's harder for people just starting up. So I think, having it almost done is definitely the way to go.
Yeah. But I've had a great time doing my artist who has done the interior work. His name's Erwin Oroza, and he actually lives in the Philippines. So I have a Philippine artist on this, and what he's done, I mean, he's just brought this book to life. I couldn't ask for better art. He's done such an excellent job. It's phenomenal.
And the thing I like about it is there's a certain like traditional aesthetic to comics, sort of like a Buscema, or if you got into the 90s, you have like the Image House style. And this isn't that, but it's not like the sloppy, lazy art that you see in, most comics from the big two. Yeah. This actually, it's really nice looking, but it looks original. It's kind of a fresh aesthetic.
Yeah, when I actually went out onto Facebook to the comic book indie creators, I was looking around by putting up an application and saying, "Hey, this is my story. This is what I have going on. This is my budget. This is the style I'm looking for." And a lot of different artists came in there and was just posting their portfolios, but nothing was really hitting what I was looking for. They were either too clean, too out of whack, just not well rendered. And then I was about to pull the application from the different groups, and then last second, Erwin threw up his portfolio, and I was like, that's the guy. So I got in touch with him as soon as I could, and I am so proud of what he brought to the table.
Wow. And is he doing the colors as well?
Yeah, it's all him.
Yeah, I'm really curious how he does this, because it's kind of an interesting look. It almost looks watercolored, but I think it really adds to that gritty kind of vibe you want for, cyberpunkish type stories.
Oh yeah, I wanted it gritty, dirty, raw looking. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better piece. I mean, this is the splash page here that happens pretty early on within the comic. And I mean, as soon as I saw this, I knew I knew it was going to be gold. So I'm very proud of what Erwin gave me.
So about how long did it take you, I guess, from the beginning to start writing this this version after you were in the anthology to like getting it to where you were ready to launch?
There were 2 years after the anthology took place, and so I had been just like playing around with different storylines that I wanted to do. And so this became the one that I chose. I was going to go ahead and go with what would have been the finale as the first 4-issue miniseries. And I was like, no, I got to ramp up to that first. I got to connect to the characters first, and then get us to the plot and the overarching, story that would take place to get to that finale. So I brought it back a little bit, and I changed it up a little bit. But what we have here is, I think, everybody's going to enjoy. So what happens, as I said, Cobalt, Jesse and Isaac are in hiding, and Cobalt's out trying to collect rent because, you know, he's not really holding a job right now, so he's just collecting cash by beating the crap out of old, you know, dirty men that run with the gangs and old locations where he knew drops would take place because he ran for the Aranya. So he's going back to those different locations and just snagging, you know, money from different gangs when they're not looking. And so one night he's going out there and he runs into the Thrasher gang, hence the title Cobalt Thrashing About. And as you can see, they're trying to have their way with this young lady, and he's not about to have it. He was a little reluctant to have to go in there and play hero again when he wasn't wanting to, but he did, you know, he served up some justice, safe to say. And so when he does that, he actually decides that he's going to like look into it a little deeper of who the Thrashers are and what's going on with them and what's this young girl doing out here all by herself. And so that kind of unfolds into the 4-issue miniseries. He's going to learn that they're running some big merch across Atlanta for one of the big wigs that you'll find out about later on. And he can't actually believe what they're kind of moving around Atlanta. It's not exactly what you think it might be. Although there might be a similarity to it. I can't really give it away. I want to, but I can't. And but this is the unfolding of that. So as soon as he learns what's actually going down in Atlanta behind closed doors, he very much is going to be active in taking down the scum that are doing these horrid things to who they've got, who they're using as merch.
Nice. And how do you see this sort of as a one-off, or do you see this as part of a series, or
the 4 issues? Yeah, it's the beginning to an ongoing series that I want to create. So you know how each series has like 1 to 7 issues that follow a main story, and they just give hints to, you know, continue a new story arc in the series. That's what I'm doing here. I'm just giving out little tidbits of stuff that will happen down the line, of course, with the supporting characters, like his little brother Isaac. He's going to have his own story arc take place.
Cool.
We're going to learn more about Thomas Rogers and how he's helped Cobalt, you know, become the hero that he is. You know, he's helped him with his fighting style. He's helped him, you know, become Cobalt. You know, Thomas Rogers is the mentor figure for this story, and this is actually him right here. And so Thomas Rogers, he was an ex-Navy SEAL special ops, and he actually lost his arm during one of the ops, but he's back in Atlanta now. You can see his dog tags there, and he's basically a handyman, but he runs a homeless shelter, and he also holds group therapy sessions for vets with PTSD. And that's where he actually met Jesse Jensen. And he saw the anger, the hatred that Jesse was just holding within from everything that's happened to him. Jesse, at this point, knew nothing but loss. He lost the way to save his mom from cancer. He lost his mom to the cancer. He lost his fingers due to the Aranya after losing merch. It was just a big L just on a chain hanging on around Jesse's neck. And Thomas immediately just, you know, felt for him and took him under his wing.
That's very cool. And so these other arcs, are they sort of like separate series, or is it all within the same Cobalt series?
It's all within the same. No, it's all going to be within the same Cobalt series.
Okay.
We're just starting how I would see any other series take place. You know, you see the street level vigilante taking on the gangs and the politicians and stuff like that, until you start meeting other superheroes or vigilantes with or without powers in your same community, and you start teaming up. You might fight with each other because your ideas might be a little different rather than aligned. So you're going to see all that push and pull with different characters throughout this series. And this was just the jumping off point that I wanted to create.
So out of curiosity, when you're writing, do you sort of think of it as so you mentioned the 4 issues of a story that has like a beginning, a middle, and an end, or do you see it sort of like traditional comic books would have been, which are sort of like closer to Viking sagas, like the story just keeps going on and on and on?
I definitely don't want to water it down like One Piece, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
But I definitely want it to be like that of Saga, or
cool.
You know, well, what's another good one? Saga or The Walking Dead. I think The Walking Dead closed down already. I think they stopped, or are they still continuing?
I think the comics just stopped.
Okay,
recently,
so I want these characters to have an ending, but I don't want it to be anytime soon. I very much have how everything I have how we lower the curtain on the series, but we're nowhere near that. We have so much more to do. I mean, Isaac's just 12. I see him growing to be in about, late 30s, mid 30s maybe.
Oh, wow.
And Jesse, he's still there. The mentor, we'll see what happens with him. And but for Cobalt Thrashing About, while he's taking on the Thrashers, this guy comes in. So this is Kasem Almot, and he's going to be our antagonist for this story. So while he was out, while Jesse was out, laying some metal on the bad guys trying to save the girl, the guy who hired the Thrashers to move the merchandise around Atlanta got wind of what just happened, because they know who the girl is, and they tried to get rid of her. And so they brought in Kasem Almot to deal with Cobalt and actually get the girl out of the way. So Kasem Almot, he's ex-Peshmerga. If you don't know who the Peshmerga are, they actually helped us out in the Afghanistan war with Iran and Iraq. And I was paying a little, homage to them here. With Kasem Almot, the name actually translates to a distributor of death.
Ooh.
And within the Peshmerga, they had this special unit called the Death Stalkers, and his code name here is the Green Scorpion. So actually, over in the Middle East, they have the Death Stalker Scorpion, but instead of having that like golden bronze exoskeleton, it's actually more of a green tint. So I went with that aesthetic for this character.
Very cool. So, in terms of, the story seems to line up really well with the artwork. How did you find working with the artist? Did you have to have a lot of back and forth, or did you sort of leave it up to him for the most part, or how did you work it?
So, of course, I had a script ready to give to him and everything. I told him basically what I was looking for, the cyberpunk neo-noir type look. I didn't want too much of one versus the other. I really wanted them to kind of like, mesh together. And I think we hit the nail on the head with it.
Yeah,
you're not going to get too much of one thing versus the other. As you can see here, while we're hanging out at the quarterback, there's not too much, that says this is cyberpunk, but that's because we're more within Atlanta. We're not on the outskirts where everything is like filthy and mucky. So you don't get that neo glow. You get more of what, this feels more, calm and alluring and warm. And I wanted that difference to take place throughout the different parts of Atlanta. So, like where you're ending up as you go into the series.
Very cool. So based on you got a pretty good reception coming in, 86% funded in 1 month. How do you see sort of the indie industry, I should say? Do you think that the market is expanding, or do you feel like it's sort of more niche just for people who are mostly already into comics?
Oh, I believe that's mostly for people who are already in the comics, but I would love to see newcomers come into the indie circuit. You know, it's very much, I don't, bad analogy, but it's very much a not closed community, but a close community. So it's hard to like get in there and like get around as much as you would want to, but at the same time, like any community, you have your little, your little groups of friends, that actually take place within the larger picture. And I think it just like breaks off like that. I think you just have different groups that, do their own thing together and back each other and hang out with each other. And then it's, it's kind of like getting those groups together to make this one, elaborate collage. And I think it's good. I think we need to get more of the younger generations in on it and make it more aware to them, because I think they're the ones who are going to be picking it up after we go. Because most of us, we came from the mainstream comics and how they're dying out and how we really don't know what's going to happen to them within the next 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Or we have an idea and we don't like it. So we're trying to get that out of the way, and we're moving into creating our own stuff. But to make it survive, to last as long as we want it to, we have to get new people in the community. We have to get new kids, new teenagers. We have to make stories that parents will actually allow their kids to buy and they're going to use their credit card on. So
yeah, to me, that's one of the most difficult things. I'm old, so I bought comics, in gas stations and grocery stores and places like that when I was a kid. Whereas, I had my own pocket money. I had 75 cents, $1.50. But, now with having to be like, Mom, I need your credit card, and it's $20, $25. I do think it takes a little bit more sort of prodding to get the parents to hand over the plastic.
Yeah, you got to have that persuasion. If you don't have it, it's going to be bad. But, I think if we just there's got to be some kind of channel that we can get kids into it and, young adults, because the young adult stuff that they're doing at DC and Marvel is just crap. I mean, it's not helping anybody out. It's not doing anything for the industry. It's just lazy pandering is what it is.
Well, and I think you can see that too. If you look at actual bookstores, look at the space for, American company graphic novels versus manga. You'll have like a half of a shelf for the US stuff versus entire walls for manga.
Yeah, exactly. And it's because manga's not exactly listening to what Western civilization is really trying to sell everybody right now.
Yes. Well, I think it's that. And I think too, I don't know what's going on with most companies, but it's like they think, oh, this is comics, so it has to be specifically one thing. One thing I really like about all these indie books is, Cobalt is you would say kind of like a superhero comic, right?
Yeah, he'd be more along the street level vigilante, kind of like the Bat Family or Daredevil, Moon Knight, Punisher.
So, I mean, you have those, but it's relatively few, because if you look at most of the stuff people are putting out, there's like a lot of horror comics. There's all different versions of monsters for bad guys. And you have still like some sci-fi stuff. But for some reason, most of the professionals who came out of the industry and most of the people who are coming into the indie industry, for some reason, they're not really that into superheroes. So it is kind of nice to actually see superheroes back and what superheroes could be again.
Almost definitely. Since I've created Cobalt and came within the indie circuit, I've met others like Dario Hernandez, who's, just started creating his character Manslaughter. And then there's Dean and Odin, who created the Embrace, which looks stellar in my opinion. And then you have Kemosabe, who's created the Company Men. I mean, there's a plethora of people out there that are throwing their own spin on either what has been created before them and making it new, or there's just, other ones that are just totally original and just, putting out something that you haven't seen done before. And if you have, it's very much so different that you just get a hint of what you've seen before. I mean, of course, Cobalt, he falls under the vigilante superhero type, but, I just noticed that Peregrine, have you heard of Peregrine?
Oh, yeah.
I saw that book out there, and it is beautiful. It is elegant. It's great. And I saw it out there, and I was like, holy crap, it did that well. And I'm glad it did, because as much as everybody was like, we don't have superheroes out here, I was like, did you not just see Peregrine make all that dough? That is crazy. But yeah, man, I think superheroes are suddenly coming back into it, but I don't think it's from the guys that just left the mainstream. I think they made their coin off of superhero books. They're just tired of doing it, and so they're going, left field with it instead of going the same old route.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that that's kind of one of the main things that manga has over the mainstream US industry, is that if you look at their books, they have books for everybody. They have, romance books, books about high school baseball teams or basketball teams. I lived in Japan for a few years, and one day I found a book where it was a guy who had a superpower to be able to make the perfect meal for corporate meetings. And
so it was a sous chef.
Yeah, basically. And it was
awesome.
The whole book was about him like creating, like you would have the head of like a German car company come in, and he has to make the appropriate food to land this deal.
That's awesome.
And it's stuff like that. The story wasn't for me exactly, but just the fact that someone was like, I should make a comic of this. I think that's awesome. And I hope that can creep back into the industry, because even if you look at the classic comic industry, there's all sorts of stuff for kids. People don't even believe me that there's Disney books anymore. I think I had Peter Samedi on, and he was shocked that there was a Frozen series.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
I think that's part of the problem is, I think there's a lot of parents who would be up for, giving stuff like that to their kids, as opposed to just having them watch videos all the time.
Well, definitely. I think we need to get away from TV a little bit. We need to get away from TV and get back into, reading, or at least, enjoying, comics, or just any form of paper that doesn't have to do with a big TV screen.
Yeah, I mean, really, comics are sort of like the marijuana of the written entertainment industry. It's that gateway drug that gets you into Lord of the Rings or some of these other books.
Well, what was the old phrase that they used to use? Tune in and tune out?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there you go.
All right. So in addition to Cobalt, do you have any other ideas that are sort of percolating, or you're just going to concentrate on Cobalt?
Oh, I definitely have other ideas, but right now the focus is trying to get Cobalt's, first issue out and into the hands of the backers, and then, finish the 4-issue miniseries. But yeah, I have 2 other ones that are in the chamber that I'm just playing around with right now.
Oh, very cool.
One is a mythological folklore type story. Definitely falls within the the 7 deadly sins and a mix of Greek mythology. But instead of just focusing on Greek mythology, I'm actually taking different tidbits from all different mythologies from different cultures and trying to mesh them into this one gigantic thing. Because honestly, almost all mythological characters are very similar to the other cultures' mythological characters. It's scary how close they are. And So I'm just like, all right. So they kind of made this similar to this one. I'm just cherry picking to make this one big collage, but I'm not using any of the big gods. Like you're not going to see Odin or Hercules or, you know, other Zeus or any of that crap. I'm picking out the little guys that never got really any attention.
Cool.
So I'm using them to bring this together, and I think it's going to be one really good manga.
Nice.
And then the third one that I have going on is called Riot. It's Riot, and it's going to be more of my space sci-fi adventure. It's going to kind of be like the Odyssey in space.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, those are my three.
Look forward to those too.
Oh yeah.
So then, are you considering trying to move into comics full time, or is this like a part time?
I mean, you know, I work in retail, so this is very much part time. Now, if it moves to where I can do it full time, hell yeah, I'm all for that. But you know, I gotta get way past, you know, just the entry level of a fix of a goal here before I can do that. But you know, baby steps. I'm getting there. I'm working my way around, getting to know more indie creators, trying to get on their streams and whatnot. So you know, it's percolating.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think too, you know, from what I've seen over the past, let's say 2 years, from a lot of the smaller creators, is the second round or the second Indiegogo tends to do a lot better than the first. I think a lot of people, you know, they're sort of withholding judgment until they can see like, yes, I'm actually getting my money's worth out of the first one. So then they can do the second one.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see how people want to like tiptoe around people who just came in, like they're not going to collect the dough and then just scray out, like, you know.
Right.
I've heard a few bad apples do.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Yeah, it sucks. It kind of hurts, but I mean, on the same measure, not to like take away from, you know, the guys that have been in this for a long time, but making people wait 2 years when they've already backed you and you've already made so much money.
Yeah.
I don't think it's right that they make them wait as long as they do. But I mean, I get they have that weight to their names and whatever, but I think it's kind of, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, there's a lot of people who, I don't know, from what I've seen, like about 1 year is like sort of the end of the time that people will tolerate it. And even then, if you're going to do that, you really have to show progress updates.
Oh, sure.
Like, for example, I think Ethan Van Sciver with his first Cyberfrog that he had come out, you know, a lot of people were complaining, but his actual fans, the people who actually backed it, like actually I didn't even back it until it was on the third cover version. But it's you know, when you could see him actually working on it every week, and you're like, okay, well, you know, if it's that quality, I'm cool with waiting. But
sure,
you know, and I think that's sort of the mistake that some other creators, who will not be mentioned, made, is that, you know, it's just a long time, and like, where's the progress? Right.
Yeah, like for me, what I should have done, and I'm still like kind of hesitant to do, is make my own channel and bring people on so they get, you know, more of me and my product. But at the same time, I don't want to just be another person that's oversaturating what is already there.
Right.
I very much like going to other creators' channels and just, you know, go in there, give my 2 cents, but also let you learn a bit about me. And because you're already there, you're already established, that means people are going to be seeing these smaller creators come on there and try and get their books out. And you do learn about them when you sit there and you actually have a little back and forth with them. And I just don't see why every single person that's trying to be a creator needs to have a channel. I hope that makes sense, but
no, that does. And you know, I think a good example of that is actually Von Klaus. from Monster MD. You know, he did have his own channel, and he was kind of like trying to run it for a while, but then he just started appearing on everybody else's show, and effectively he didn't really need his own channel. You know, and that's sort of one of the benefits. I think
that's where it's going.
Yeah. I think that's one of the benefits of, you know, being a good guest too, and, you know,
of course,
adding to other people's shows.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it's a little difficult when you have, like, you know, 5 people in your stream, and you're trying to, like, either like talk or just, you know, sit back and let people who know each other actually converse with each other, and you're just sitting there like waiting a little bit. But I'm guilty of doing that. But you know, it's the game, I guess you could say, is going in there and trying to make your voice heard, even though you know you got other voices that might be a little louder than your own. But you know, I want to be here, and I want to stay here. This is something that I've enjoyed doing. When I made the anthology and just made that 7-page origin story, I caught the bug, man. I want to keep doing this. If I could just make a living at it, not even like a big glorious living like Eric Weathers and Ethan Van Sciver or anything, but if I could just make, you know, a small income that would, you know, satisfy me and, you know, my family to be, you know, I'd be happy. I'd be happy with it. I've enjoyed doing this. I've enjoyed meeting other creators and, you know, chilling and, you know, chatting, shooting the shit. It's been great. It's making new friends while you're getting new product at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So is there anything else that we should know about Cobalt, about the campaign?
Yeah, we are, we're 30 days. We're on our last 30 days. You know, it'll be over on April 30th. We have fully colored all of our pages, 32 pages, just talking with my letterist, getting all that finished up. Free shipping on all physical tiers within the US. And then down here, we have the stretch goals.
Oh, okay, cool.
So after our goal of 3,000, every extra 1,000 will unlock a new tier. So we have the embroidered patch at $4,000. We have a trading card with art by my interior artist, Erwin Arosa, at 5,000. At 6,000, I'm going to put the original 7-page origin story into Cobalt Thrashing About at the back of the book. And then at 7,000, we have a Cobalt t-shirt with art by Erwin Arosa once again.
Oh, that's very cool. And so this is going to be included for all the levels?
Yes. Yeah. The stretch goals are for all levels, except the digital, of course.
Right.
And then this is a bigger picture of what the 11x17 poster will be. This was done for me by an indie artist on Facebook and Instagram. His name's Bert de la Cruz, and his tag is actually Art of Bert. I made sure that everybody puts their little tag down here in the corner because I want them to have the glory of creating these fine pieces. And then this is the 12x18 metal poster print that you saw earlier. By Bagus.artworks. He's on Instagram also.
Yeah, you definitely got a lot of good quality art for this book.
Yeah. Well, you know, when it comes to superheroes and vigilantes, you need something that kind of like changes it up a bit for them. Not just the story, but I think the art also. And I think this just looks so raw, gritty, and just, you know, I don't want to say filthy, but you just look at it. It's so beautiful. I love it. I love everything that we brought to the table, and I can't wait to get it out to everybody.
Yeah, it looks amazing. All right. Well, yep. Sorry, go ahead.
The last thing I have is this little trailer done by Red Gaze, and then
let's check it out.
After that, yeah. Oh. You can't hear it, can you?
No, actually, well, I can hear it.
Oh, I don't know
Hopefully
if
everyone else can.
Yeah, let me change it up. There we go.
Oh, that's awesome. Have you ever heard of there's a role-playing game called Shadowrun?
No, I haven't.
It was like a cyberpunk role-playing game. It was around in the 80s, and if you can find it, there was actually a video game for the Sega Genesis.
Okay.
And man, that music and just the look of it just reminds me, like, makes me think it's straight out of there.
Awesome. Good. I mean, if it can bring back, nostalgic memories, I'm happy for it. Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for stopping by. Everyone, go check out Cobalt Thrashing Around. 1 month left on Indiegogo. And there will be a link below, a link to it directly below on the video.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming by.
Thank you.
And good night, everyone.